I'm interested in advocacy and innovation using technology to connect with people who are concerned about changing the world. So I had to come to the Nonprofit 2.0. Half of DC is here, so this is the place to be. If you're not here, you're missing out.
Well, what I like most about it is these are real nonprofit practitioners who are here. So there's a great opportunity to share with peers, to learn from one another.
I'm here to learn and network and be a part of what just looked like a fascinating day.
So one of the things that social media is really about is collaboration and communication with each other, and how we develop things as a group. I wouldn't say necessarily as a crowd, but as a group. And then there's this theory about this guy named Dunbar. You may have heard that Dunbar is 150. That communities really come together in groups of 150 or less. So what we wanted to do was create not your average social media conference where you have a bunch of hotshots get up and speak and tell you everything, but get the community together, the nonprofit social media community together here in Washington, D.C., and have some fantastic conversations about the state of social media.
You know, no one can be on top of all the tools all the time and everything that's out there. So I'm really looking forward to hearing other people's strategies that have been successful and learning more in-depth measurement and ROI tools.
It's an unconference, which means that you can, if you feel overwhelmed, you can slow the pace down. If you don't know what something means, it's entirely cool to raise your hand and say, what is a blogger even? By being an unconference, we participants define what the experience is going to be.
The participants get to plan their own sessions, so you get to hear from people who are into the same stuff that you are, and instead of like hearing from one person and one person's take on things, you get to hear from the crowd, and that's what's happening here, where you get to hear a lot of what other people are doing in the same field, and that's really important because you get a lot of suggestions from a bunch of different people.
I saw both keynotes. Wendy from Red Cross was awesome.
Just talked about, in the context of the Haiti earthquake, sort of laid the foundation for what we had already had in place in the systems and sort of standard operating procedures we had social media wise before the earthquake happened, which helped us act very, very quickly when it did happen.
Of course, Beth Cantor is a living genius, a living legend.
Allison Fine and myself, Beth Cantor, we are the co-authors of a newly launched book called The Network Nonprofit, and we did the keynote this morning, which was a conversational keynote where we talked about themes in our book.
I really liked Beth Cantor's and Allison Fine's talk about free agents and what is happening now in nonprofits, and also what Wendy Harmon talked about with making friends with people with social media and not doing much fundraising, but trying to have people be ambassadors for your cause or for your organization, have them do the work for you. That was really interesting.
You know, I really loved the session that Wendy Harmon did, just using the case study of what Red Cross has done around Haiti and overall their whole social media strategy. That was an incredibly important story to hear.
Well, I just had a session. We talked about the intersection of fundraising and communication and stuff, and with social media, and what part does social media actually play in a fundraiser's world. And there were some really nice takeaways that came out of this session, especially around how do we prove that social media is worthwhile? Why should we do it? Those kinds of things from a dollars and cents perspective.
Yes, I was just in a session that was all about video and how to use video to move the needle in terms of your advocacy objectives or your fundraising objectives.
I just got out of a great session on blogger outreach, and one of the tips was the keys to following up. The guys from Abraham Harrison were saying that they only get about a quarter of their responses from that first email out to bloggers, and that really the majority of response they get is on the second and third follow-up.
Well, I sat in on a Foursquare session, and it was quite interesting how they were discussing using Foursquare for your organization or your business versus personal use, and how it's wide open right now, and people can tailor-make it to work for them in much the same way that people did with Twitter.
My panel was on Foursquare for nonprofits. As the days go on, location is going to be more important to more people. You're a location, your phone always has a unique identifier. You're moving about in the world. Whatever you do is associated with what you're consuming, where you're going, what concert you're going to. Now you are your own brand, and anything you associate with reflects on you.
One of the challenges around social media is nonprofits engaging with social media, and so the reason that we did Nonprofit 2.0 is to sort of start that conversation, because we didn't have a lot of nonprofits that really understood it.
So we started Nonprofit 2.0 as a way to get the nonprofit community together to start talking about issues that are really important today. What's working in the nonprofit community in terms of social media, different types of technology tools, what's not working for organizations, and then hopefully it's, I really wanted this to be a skill sharing session that people could go back to work on Monday and really start testing out new strategies and techniques and tactics.
It's actually been really wonderful. We've seen a lot of things I did not know before. And we came here basically because we feel that nonprofits are much more on the groundbreaking level of social media than you see in bigger organizations.
What's nice about it is it's informal, it's friendly, it's where everybody kind of comes and you're on equal footing. So there's not a big podium where the speakers are standing up above you and looking down, and you're in that kind of follow the leader kind of sense, and that the rigidity that can add to that.
I recommend it completely because it's inexpensive, it's close, and you have an opportunity to meet all the people probably that you already know on Twitter.
Any event that brings together people who are coming at this from all angles, from kind of consultants and practitioners like me to folks who are maybe the communications person at their nonprofit, or executive level even, I think would really benefit from hearing these conversations, and just the sense of community that these kinds of events foster, particularly within this community in DC. And I'm actually from Brooklyn, and so I travel down for it. So I highly recommend it just for the community building face-to-face aspect alone.
I loved hearing people's stories this morning. A number of people came up to me after the keynote, asked me not to share their identities, about what they're doing surreptitiously within their organizations to encourage social media adoption.
The best thing to have in your, in your set of tools is stories of how people made it work for them